tickets. That's why we're in this configuration. So tonight, we have the pleasure of recognizing a number of people for some very special accomplishments. And as we do every time about this year in January, I'd like to welcome Barbara Stern and Lisa Birch and Mike Stern here, and Emma Stern here this evening to recognize the winners of the Andrew Stern Memorial Essay Contest. Mr. Stern was a graduate of Center Avenue Elementary School and East Rockaway High School, who lost his life in the World Trade Center attacks on September 11th. Mr. Stern's family is continuing the annual Andrew J. Stern Memorial Essay Contest to honor Andrew's memory. As has been the tradition in East Rockaway, we commemorate the tragic events which occurred on September 11th with an important learning opportunity for our students. I would like to introduce Ms. Lisa Birch of the Stern family, who will speak about her brother Andrew Stern, this year's important essay topic, and also present our essay winners this evening.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Ruiz, for allowing us to continue this tradition, which lets us honor Andy's memory, but also keeps the memory of the tragic events of 9/11 and those who perished front and center in the minds of the students of East Rockaway. As Superintendent Ruiz said, my brother Andy Stern was a graduate of Center Avenue and East Rockaway High School. And while he moved away from East Rockaway after college, he was connected to this town until the day he died. Many of the people he called friends were from here, and those people are still and will always be friends of the Stern family. I'm so proud to stand up here every year and give out these awards alongside my mom, Barbara Stern, and my brother, Michael, who everybody here knows. And this year, it's especially meaningful as my niece, Emma, Andy's daughter, is also with us tonight. I want to thank the principals and the teachers who help guide the students as they prepare their essays every year, and the parents who encourage their children to learn, to participate, and to never forget. It's crazy, but last year, 2019, 18 years after 9/11, was the first year that virtually every student who wrote an essay was not even alive on that dreadful day. And that's one of the reasons why we chose the topic that we did, which was to reflect on how 9/11 affected our country, and why is it important for us to continue to remember what happened on that day. Most of us can remember exactly where we were on 9/11, what we were doing, what was happening around us. But for the youth of today, all they can do is to read about it, maybe see a movie, hear stories from loved ones. The students who submitted essays this year all wrote about how our country changed that day. Most of them talked about increased airport security, how our country came together in the days after 9/11, how the terrorists tried to break us, but they didn't win. They also talked about why it's important to teach young people in so many different ways about what happened that day and in the days after. As you know, every year, my family and I read through over 700 plus essays. It's a daunting task. It's sad, it's inspiring, amusing, and inspirational. And this year was no exception. And I think when you hear from the winners, you'll see why they really stood out. So first I would like to call our winner in the elementary school category, Ryan Vine. Thank you. I'm going to read for Ryan on Ryan's behalf. He's nervous and he doesn't want to mess up, so I'm just going to read for him. In the days that followed 9/11, we saw America come together as a nation. However, it seems there has been a great deal of negativity and we have become divided as a nation. Politicians spend their days telling of the plans that show how they plan on keeping our country together. In my opinion, I believe that it is important to continue to remember what happened on September 11th. In order to do so, I think that education is important in helping Americans remember what took place on that day and help bring us back as a united country. I think classes should teach the benefits of tolerance and acceptance of others. I also think that every school should be closed on September 11th as a National Day of Remembrance. Finally, I think it should be mandated that all schools visit the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. First, I feel that education is important to teaching young Americans what happened on that day. It is important to know that there were innocent people killed and that there were brave people risking their lives to help. The schools should also be creating classes of tolerance and acceptance of others. I feel that intolerance is often taught. Children are not born knowing the differences between black and white, boy and girl. These things are learned. Instead of teaching children to see differences, we should teach respect and tolerance. Teachers could take away time from meaningless test prep to teach something real that matters. Educating the youth to remember and to get along will result in helping the way people think about others. Now I feel that 9/11 is one of the most tragic and important events that has happened in our American history. It needs to become a National Day of Remembrance, where schools are closed, businesses are shut down, and people can reflect on the lives of those who risk their lives to save others. We should be able to remember the innocent victims who went to work or about their day unknowing of what tragedy was going to take place upon them with our families at home. Finally, I feel mandating all schools to visit the 9/11 Memorial will bring to life the images of the events that took place that day so we can all learn as a nation to remember what took place. It is really important to see what happened firsthand and look at all the names of the individuals who lost their lives on that day. In doing all of this, I truly believe that we as a country would be educating the future of our country and teaching them the value of togetherness and unity in our world. People all get caught up in their own lives. Time and education needs to be given so people will not forget the events of that day.
Thank you, Brian. At the junior high level, the winner is Everett Gamachi.
September 11th, 2001, a day that will go down in history for being the most horrendous act our country has seen since the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was a day of confusion, fear, and shock for citizens of America and the world. The fear was strongest for the family and friends of people who were in the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the Four Points. Every year, students write this essay to remember those we lost and remind the world and ourselves that we will never forget. This year, I had the honor of being a flag bearer representing my Boy Scout troop for our town's 9/11 ceremony. Seeing all the flags and veterans truly moved me. When I think of the flag, I think of hope. I think of our nation's strength and ability to stand up for one another. People who didn't even know each other helped people out of the buildings and out of the area. After the collapse of the World Trade Center, thousands rushed back to look through rubble to find survivors. When crews were cleaning up after the traumatizing events, they found our country's flag in the rubble of Ground Zero. To me, this was symbolic. It showed the United States' ability to rise from the ashes. I hope that next year I will have the same honor to be a flag bearer at the 9/11 ceremony. At this year's ceremony, Ms. Stern, Andrew Stern's mother, gave an amazing speech that felt true to her heart. She talked about the strength of our nation and how we could rise from anything. The part of the speech that resonated with me most was the part about unity and how in the days following the event, we were as unified as we had ever been. It did not matter our ethnicity, skin color, or faith, we were united. Ms. Stern also stated that every store was sold out of American flags and that she wished for it to be like that again. I feel like we should keep this hope alive for the good of our nation. Though the unbelievable events that happened cannot be reversed, we managed to live on, even without those we loved. Our country stayed strong, even though I was not even born yet. I know of this event from my great teachers and community, and to these people we will learn to never forget.
Thank you, Everett. And three-time winner, at the high school level, Madeline Prucha.
The human mind is an enigma. Thoughts and information are brought in and tossed out with a hustle and bustle similar to that of a Manhattan morning. It has been proven that without constant repetition and education, our minds will cease to remember things that it once deemed significant. And if we cannot merely remember something, how can we ensure that it never happens again? Well, we must simply ensure that we never forget. Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, the day of broken promises. Hundreds of mothers and fathers kissed their children goodbye and headed off to work, only to never come home to talk about the day with them, to help them out with their homework, to tuck them into bed at night, to protect them from the horrors of the world around them, even if the most radical thing troubling them was the monster under their bed, and not the radical Islamic terrorism that would crush their world as they knew it. It is vital that we continue our remembrance of September 11th, not simply to honor the lives of those who perished in the horribly attacked, but to provide comfort, security, and strength to those they left behind on earth. The day following September 11th has been portrayed to me as the day the world went silent. You could not hear a single beep in traffic. No arguments were had. No one complained about the milk content of the coffee they received. Americans looked out for their fellow Americans, and through having this mutual respect, everyone was able to slowly resew the ashes in their hearts that were sliced by emotional debris the second the South Tower collapsed. By helping each other grieve, we were able to create a quilt of pride, patriotism, and unity. We as Americans proved that you can knock us down, but we will surely get back up again, even stronger than before. And I believe enforcing remembrance of September 11th can aid in implicating this unity back into a nation that is so remarkably divided today. When I envision the 9/11 first responder, I see a hero. I see someone willing to put their own life on the line, to thrust themselves into the face of the world's greatest evil in the hope that one of those mothers can in fact tuck their child into bed. What I don't picture, however, is a man, frail and dying, having to defend their right to life for his fellow colleagues. Yet that is what I saw Luis Alvarez do on Capitol Hill to a shameful, barren Congress the day before his 69th round of chemotherapy. Mr. Alvarez was a former NYPD detective who responded on September 11th and developed aggressive cancer from his work on the file. Congress had a bill on the table that would cut medical funding after the next 5 years to our country's heroes and their families. And although Alvarez knew he had only a mere month to live, he pleaded with Congress to extend it. He harped on his appreciation for life. And as these men and women are the sole reason so many people are even alive today, I believe the sheer thought of the budget cuts being plausible is a sign that people are cheapening the bravery of our patriotic martyrs, and further reasoning why the attacks of September 11th need to stay relevant. Many people react to tragedy by simply blocking it out, more or less to numb the pain. I could compare this to leaving a broken limb dislocated. It is action that solves problems. It is action that builds strength. It is action that guarantees a gruesome attack like September 11th will never happen again. Therefore, It is imperative that we continue to remember that fateful day, because to forget, simply put, is to forgive.
Wow. That was truly amazing. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to ask my mom and my brother and my niece Emma to come up to give out the certificates and the checks. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I asked Lisa this year, from what year have they been providing this opportunity? Because every year it really strikes me that this is what authentic learning is about. It gives kids an opportunity to connect to something that, although they were not alive at the time, affected their own community and people that they know. And so I thank them for providing that and for being here and for their generosity and recognizing their students. And I just want to give them a proper thank you. They're always here. And congratulations to our winners. We're so proud of you. Madeline, 3 times. That's really impressive. And these are all anonymous. The names, the names of the students do not go on their papers. They're each assigned a number. And as Lisa said, they read through 700 essays, and it's the best. And obviously,
I was very proud of my granddaughter helped to select the winners.
She read it. And I too was very touched. I'm thrilled that you wrote about that, because your speech at the 9/11 memorial ceremony was really, really heartfelt, and I think touched a lot of people there. Obviously, our students as well. So thank you. Thank you again. Thank you. So tonight we have another recognition, and I am absolutely thrilled to be announcing this and sharing this event with you this evening. The East Rockaway School District is very proud to acknowledge Rayne Avenue Elementary School 4th grade teacher Gail Byra, who has achieved the National Teacher Certification from the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards. She is one of 3,831 new honorees and joins a growing community of more than 125,000 board-certified teachers across all 50 states. So if you don't know much about this, it may not sound that impressive. We have a lot of teachers in this country, but this is really an incredibly impressive and tremendous amount of work that Gail has entered into, and purely voluntarily. National Board, so if you don't know, National Board Certification, or NBC, and not the Peacock, is a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. NBC has national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. The National Board certifies teachers who successfully complete its rigorous certification process. In order to become board certified, teachers must complete a performance-based, peer-reviewed process demonstrating their proven impact on student learning and achievement. Created by teachers for teachers, the National Board Standards represent a consensus among educators about what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do, as I said. Board certification is available in 25 certificate areas spanning 16 disciplines from pre-K through 12th grade. The certification process requires that teachers demonstrate standards-based evidence of the positive effect they have on student learning in alignment with 5 core propositions. This goes way beyond the Danielson observations that we use to evaluate our teachers each year. This is a tremendous amount of work. They must exhibit a deep understanding of their students, content knowledge, use of data and assessments, and teaching practice. They must also show that they participate in learning communities and provide evidence of ongoing reflection and continuous learning. Gail is an alumnus of East Rockaway Junior Senior High School. She has been a teacher at Rain Avenue since 2001. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in English with a concentration in secondary education, which I did not know, from Salisbury State University, and her Master of Science in Elementary Ed from CUNY Hunter. She also received her School Building Leader and School District Leader certification from Stony Brook University. She also serves as the newly appointed president of the East Rockaway Teachers Association. Aspire has worked toward this voluntary advanced certification for the past 3 years and said achieving this prestigious certification has been a goal for over a decade. We're so proud to acknowledge you tonight, Gail, for this really significant achievement, and we hope that you will inspire others to follow in your footsteps. Congratulations.
This is on behalf of the Board of Education and the administration. That's for you. Commemorate this really incredible. When Gail explained it to me, I was really just taken back by how much time she had put into this, and obviously how much she gained by doing so. So please enjoy these as a program. And we also have a pin for you, but it hasn't been the NBC, the National Board Certification Stage. I'm quite proud.
And we will be meeting with Gail, our administrative team, so that Gail can share with us what the process was like, because we certainly would love more of our teachers who are interested to pursue this very prestigious certification. Clearly, it's a tremendous amount of work, and it's a big commitment on Gail's part, but we would like to learn more about it and how we could support more of our teachers who might be interested in pursuing this certification. So last but not least, although tonight is just the announcement, we'd like to recognize our own Board of Education President, Mr. Keith Gamache. You may have seen his picture on our website with a little description, but we are delighted and very proud to announce that Mr. Keith Gamache has been selected as one of 16 Nassau BOCES Education Partner Award honorees. The Education Partner Award recognizes individuals who have made a substantial impact on public education in Nassau County. Mr. Gamache is an intelligent, caring, dedicated, and hardworking trustee, and a strong and passionate advocate for public education who has worked tirelessly for our students, our school district, and our community for the past 6 years. Mr. Gamache will receive his award at a special gala hosted by Nassau BOCES Education Foundation on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. If you are interested in attending, you can call my office. It's really a beautiful event. And I hope some of you at least can enjoy us to celebrate Mr. Gamache's selection as a Nassau BOCES education partner. So please join me in congratulating Mr. Gamache for being selected for this prestigious honor and also for representing the faculty. I just feel like I'm being gender biased when, men get flowers. I'm sure you should get flowers, but congratulations. Flowers mean nothing. It's the award that really counts. So that concludes our honorees for tonight, and I'd like to turn the podium over to Ms. Hecht and her team of administrators who are going to present tell you all about our new tech books. And so that's not a typo. As you know, our one-to-one device initiative has been a priority for the district over the last number of years, and that combined with some of our curriculum and instructional needs, tech books were selected last year in order to be implemented in grades 6 through 12, and you're going to learn all about what those are from Ms. Hecht.
Thank you. The wizards are behind the curtain over here. So good evening. Tonight we will continue to share information about some of the very exciting learning opportunities that are occurring in our schools. Last month we heard about the Writers Workshop program in our elementary schools. And tonight we're going to explore our new textbooks, or rather tech books, that are utilized in grades 6 through 12 in a number of academic areas. So we really want to go back and look at what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. So we're really continuing to build this very strong program in our schools, Foundation for Student Learning, which you'll hear more about tonight with the implementation of tech books. And also next month we will be sharing information about our mental health and wellness initiatives to ensure that we have a district-wide foundation for positive school culture at the same time. So tonight we'll share more about our efforts to build a strong instructional framework. We're creating a solid foundation of learning by focusing on teacher clarity throughout the district using visible learning practices. We continue to ensure that we have a district-wide language for learning through the district-wide use of thinking maps. And we continue to enhance our instructional environment through the use of instructional technology and the development of skills that truly allows our students to access and use information in new and exciting and valuable ways. So we bring these components of our instructional framework together with the very specific learning expectations that have been shared more recently regarding next generation science standards, next generation mathematical learning standards, and a new social studies framework. And you'll see how those all connect with our implementation of tech books tonight. So you'll hear from our middle school and high school team as they introduce and demonstrate the new Discovery Ed tech books that they're using in classrooms, and share how these resources complement all of the work that we're doing. So I want to turn it over to them, but I do want to thank our teachers who have embraced this technology and these new programs and are kind of working through it as our students are this year. We are just amazed at how much is available in these resources, and so you'll see them unfolding as we go throughout this year and in the years to come. But we're really excited. It makes the learning more relevant and makes students hopefully more engaged. It gives teachers, as you'll hear about, some opportunities to advance differentiation in classrooms and really provide opportunities for students that they didn't have before. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Schaefer and his team so you can learn more.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Hecht. So Discovery Education Textbook is something that we spent a good chunk of the spring discussing both at the building administration level and also amongst a few committees, curriculum committees that existed last year. This is a program that I brought into my previous school. Mr. Kraus brought it into his previous school too, so we had a good foundation of knowledge about the program. But one of the things that we heard loud and clear last year from many of the teachers is there was a lack of resources available to support their planning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why Discovery Education Textbook was the right choice. It is a comprehensive digital platform that replaces traditional textbooks. I think that's a typo. Replaces traditional textbooks. It's all online. However, there are plenty of printable resources that teachers can use throughout the course of a unit. It's all standard aligned. It's core curricular resource. It incorporates inquiry-based learning, and it incorporates literacy and critical thinking skills across all subjects. Like I said, it's digital and printable. There are interactive activities where the students actually hop on their device and they go through an entire activity through the platform. There is text similar to a traditional textbook. There are virtual labs in the science and math platforms. There are reading passages that are at different lexile levels in English and Spanish, and there is a whole host of videos. The Discovery Education streaming services has existed for quite a number of years. The textbook is a newer service, but it really does support engagement. It allows students to think and work like historians, mathematicians, and scientists. It has a high level of real-world relevance, as you'll see, and there are interdisciplinary connections throughout all three textbooks. As I mentioned, it allows teachers to differentiate. All readings are at two different lexile levels, so at a higher and a lower reading level, and those readings can be assigned within the same class to different students. The readings are all in English and Spanish, and the variety of resources, whether in print, in illustrations, in photographs, in videos, it appeals to different modalities and learning styles. The teachers have access to lesson plans and formative and summative assessments, and we're going to show you a little bit of the teacher end of the platform in a few minutes. There are highlighting tools that the students can use. There are note-taking tools. There are whiteboard tools in the math textbook where the students can actually use the computer to actually, as if they had an actual whiteboard marker in front of them, and submit that work to the teacher, and the teacher can assess it. All of the text, there's a text-to-speech option where the actual textbook could read to them. It allows for the digital submission of student work and the real-time assessment, and we'll show you what that looks like. One of the best aspects is we have access to ongoing professional development, so that the Discovery Education itself has a series of modules of professional development that we can bring in and our teachers can experience to help guide them through the use of the platform. One of the biggest benefits is the cost. It's a fraction of the cost of a traditional textbook. So whereas textbooks are in the range of $100 to $120 a book at this point, this is a very small fraction of that. We were able to purchase for 3 subjects from grade 6 through 12 for the next 6 years, and we would never have been able to replace the textbooks for all of those core academic subjects if not for textbook. In terms of access, we know that some of our students may have trouble with the access at home, but we've made it available through extra help, extra homework help. We have the library on Monday and Friday mornings, and again, a lot of these things can be printed out, so students should never have blocked access to any of the resources. As I mentioned, the decision really came through teacher-based committees in the spring. In science and math in particular, several options were reviewed, and this became the clear favorite. And the benefit is we've gone with 3 different subjects with the same platform, so it is a single login for our students. So when they log in, their dashboard will show them the assignments for the 3 subjects that are using the same platform. And there is a clear alignment to the district strategic plan and a school-wide instructional focus in so many ways that it was pretty clear that this was the way to go for our students. So where is it being used? We have middle school social studies, grades 7 and 8. We have grades 6, 7, and 8 math and all the Regents courses, and grades 6 and 7 science and the Regents science. So it really does span grades 6 through 12. Unfortunately, they don't currently have a high school version of social studies, which we keep reminding them that they should. Hopefully they'll listen to us and create one. But one of the benefits is, as the platforms upgrade and they update, for example, the social studies platform is actually the oldest of the three, so they're in the process of upgrading that platform. The national standards for science are changing, so the science platform is going to have to be upgraded. There's no additional charge to us as they make these upgrades. So whereas you would have to buy a whole new set of science textbooks when the national standards are put into place, we don't. We have a subscription, and whatever changes they make, we automatically get them. So just a few thoughts about the teacher experience. So this happens to be the social studies platform. When a teacher logs in, for all of the chapters and the concepts of the chapters, they have model lessons. So all the platforms look like this on their end with standards alignment, so it actually tells them what standards the lessons align to. It provides a suggested pacing. So for example, this chapter is broken into 6 periods. So the teachers can use pacing, they can adjust how they want, what best meets the needs of their classroom and their students. And there are connections to other disciplines. So for example, in this social studies concept, there are clear connections to literacy standards, reading and writing, and it's all laid out for teachers there to use. One of the best attributes of the model lesson is the lesson objectives, which are a clear alignment to our use of success criteria in planning. And that goes back to our visible learning initiative, and teachers can very easily take the lesson objectives over the course of a week and select which objectives for success criteria fit with the daily lessons that they are doing. So that's all I'm going to talk about. Mr. Zervis, Mr. Gibbons, and Mr. Krause are going to go more in depth about each of the 3 textbooks, and I'm going to pass it on to them.
Hi, I'm Mr. Zervis. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the student experience. We had a Math 7 lesson that the students of Ms. Cordero's Math 7 class went through, and I'm just going to take you through basically, what it's like for the students in one particular lesson and see what they went through. So you can see with this slide right here, each grade is broken down into different units, and then, what's it? And then each unit has different, each unit has a few different concepts, and then within each concept, you'll see those at the bottom. There'll be engaged type lessons, investigations, and then a summary piece. So this lesson that the students did here was the engaged lesson, which is sort of the opener to the lesson. This was their first exploration into the concept of ratios. So they were using this lesson to get hooked into the idea of ratios and be excited about it without even really sort of knowing they were doing that. And the way the lesson went, the way the engaged lesson went was the students had to read a brief article about Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. And they went through, this is basically what the students had on their computers right here. They logged in when the lesson began. They each read through this lesson piece, this part of the lesson on their own. And again, it was a bit of a lesson about the Vitruvian Man from Da Vinci. And it talked about the way he calculated some of the ratios of human face. And then the students were prompted to go out on their own and measure each other's bodies. And they were given this is the screen that was on their computer, and they had to measure their height, doing most things, the arm span, and their head height. So there's a couple of pictures of the kids doing exactly that. And then after they did their calculations, they entered it into that sheet so we can see like this is how they entered the data, and the teacher can see the data. So as the students are entering it and hitting submit, the teacher can see exactly what they are doing. And then lesson went on, and they had to then, these were Da Vinci's numbers or calculations, so they had to do the calculations that Da Vinci did also. They entered that into their sheet also. And the idea was, you know, at the end of the lesson, they all realized that no matter how tall you were, how short you were, whatever it may be, whether it was nowadays or back in Da Vinci's time, you know, the ratio of arm span to your height or the distance from your eyes to the top of your head to your head is the same as Da Vinci had gotten back then. And that was their sort of aha moment. So they got the kids talking about math. They were talking like in the language of math without even really knowing they were learning about racial proportion. So it was meant to be, again, an engaging, exciting lesson. And this is sort of how the summary piece would end. The kids were prompted to do a little writing task, and they write into that cell, and then the teacher can see what they had to write. So every student gets a chance to input what they're saying without having to sort of raise their hand and hope they get called on, or not raise their hand and hope they don't get called on. Everybody has a chance to input what they're saying in their own personal way, and no one really else has to see it except for the teachers. They can really say what they have to say. It's a really nice way for the kids to interact with the teacher. And then and that was that lesson in particular. So the rest of the unit is broken down into these other investigations, and they're sort of run in a similar way. And you'll see like this is, the teacher's gonna sort of look at the investigations, that's what they'll see. Each one of the investigations has a check for understanding at the end. So that's often a traditional worksheet that the students may complete, and that's how the teacher understands. You know, the students really understand what was taught today in class. And that's a brief summary of what the students see in one particular lesson. And Mr. Gibbons now will talk about the planning process for the teachers.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to highlight some of the benefits of the tech book for planning for all of our teachers, and I want to look at it through the lens of our social studies classes. So as Mr. Schaefer said a little while ago, when our teachers log in and they see the standards, and I just want to, if you're unfamiliar with the social studies curriculum, New York State is moving to this new framework. Curriculum, our Regents exams that students are taking in 10th and 11th grade are aligned to this new framework. We're using the tech book in 7th and 8th grade in social studies, and the standards for the framework are already there. So even though our students are a few years away from taking the most updated Regents exams with the newest framework, they're being introduced to these standards at a younger age, which also helps our teachers. And some other benefits that also help our teachers are the lesson objectives and the essential questions. We've been working with learning intentions and success criteria for the last 2 years, and having a new tech book with some of these objectives and overviews and essential questions already added helps our teachers because it takes away a lot of the guesswork. And another thing that I want to quickly highlight is all of the lessons have common misconceptions that students may or may not know. It helps teachers prepare for some confusion, and it also has prior knowledge. And the entire district has been working with Dr. John Almerode on teacher clarity. And this is really, it's really a fantastic tool because in order to be effective as teachers, we want to remove the guesswork. We want to have very clear lessons for students. And by having the objectives already there, by tying it into our learning intentions and our success criteria, and by being able to kind of guess ahead of time where the misconceptions are going to be, we can make sure that our lessons are more effective and efficient for our students. And to highlight some of the benefits in his own classroom, I'd like to invite Mr. Tesoro to talk about it, how it works in 7th grade.
All right. Hi. So I'm here to talk about what or how the tech book actually benefits me as a social studies teacher teaching 7th grade here. One of the biggest benefits of the tech book are these export tabs. So most social studies teachers hopefully are able to teach any subject in the curriculum on their own. However, what these explore tabs do is they kind of give you a way to teach whatever topic you're teaching in a unique way. What they do is they fill the gaps in areas of knowledge that you may not necessarily have focused on. So I go through these tabs and before every unit, and I see something that maybe I wouldn't have focused on, but now I have it here, and it gives me the resources that I need to now spend a day doing that. So, for example, well, no, not there yet, but What these tabs do is too often social studies is taught as this grand narrative of historical events with no focus on the people. So what I've seen from the textbook is it does an excellent job at taking a history from below of project, and through the units, there's usually a focus on how this history has affected different groups of people in the United States. So each tab might have a focus for, say, women during the colonial period, African Americans during the colonial period, and how these events have shaped our history from the individual rather than the grand scope of things. And another amazing resource is its focus on vocabulary, which for our 7th grade students is always a big need. So they have the opportunity to touch the majority of the words in the passages. And then the amazing thing is that those words are now not only defined for them, but there's multiple entry points for each student. So if I click on the president's cabinet here, I have 3 different options for each student. I can get a normal summary, which is good for some students, or maybe they want a video that explains what the president's cabinet is. Or maybe they need a image to really explain what the president's cabinet is. And what's amazing for me is that I don't have to sit there and go do every word. They can do this at their own pace while they're doing whatever activity they're doing, because each child's needs are unique to that child. And they have the opportunity now to pick out which words they're having a hard time with. One other thing I know was mentioned earlier, but they also have the opportunity to get these texts at different reading levels. And that is so important. They have 2 different reading levels, A and B. They also have the text written in Spanish. And what I think is really cool is that they have the opportunity, because this is done on the student side, they can go between texts, which is really cool for our English language learners. Maybe some that are comfortable with English but not so comfortable. They can go back and forth between Spanish and English and really understand that text and really dive into it. This is my first year using the social studies textbooks, and it has been tremendously helpful for me. Like I said, the Explore tabs are really great in formulating a unit from start to finish. It doesn't take a chronological approach all the time, which I think is fantastic because I'm kind of taught to teach a chronological approach. So this makes me look outside of the box of different aspects of social studies that maybe haven't been present in social studies classrooms in the last 40 or so years that are now being brought into the social studies classrooms here. Mr. Krause.
Thank you, Mr. Tess. I know there's more. How can there be more? Because all of that and more. So get a lot for your money through the tech book. So this really is an all-inclusive platform. I just wanted to highlight a couple of aspects, some that are all-inclusive, some that are specific to science. Firstly, there's an assessment builder tool embedded in the program. So our teachers can create assessments directly linked to the standards and directly linked to the content that's connected within it. So this is what the teacher page looks like. You can see there's assessment builder. You can see all the other tabs that are there too, like instructional strategies or professional learning. But there's only so much time to go over everything that textbook can do. And when they open that up, they can create these assessments. They can create a practice assessment, something that doesn't count for a grade. They can create something concept-based or standard-based, and then it gives them the opportunity to create questions and select from a bank of questions that all feed into whatever topic they're covering. And I'm just giving you some screenshots just so you can see how simple the process is for our teachers. Then they're able to find the concept. They can select all of the concepts that they may want to find the pool of questions from which they can select. They just click those questions that they want, that add button right there. When they have all of their questions ready to go, they can click assign, and then it just gets zipped right out to all of the students in their class, and their students can access it from their dashboard, and they can complete those questions. And this is what it looks like for the student. It gives them the instructions. One of the nice things about it is it only goes one question at a time. as opposed to giving them all 20 questions on a page that can be daunting and overwhelming. They'll just get one question at a time. The students can go through it at their own pace. So they can start a few questions, they can save their progress, and then they can come back to it later, so long as they finish it within the due date, the window that the teacher has assigned. That's why I said here, their progress is saved, just to give a sense of what it may look like. And then immediately upon completion, they get their score. So they know exactly what questions they got right, where they got their points. Some of them may be multiple choice, some of them may be short answers that the teacher can pre-program in specific answers. But then they can go back and they can look at each individual question that they may have gotten correct or incorrect, and now they can identify maybe what particular concept they may have been struggling with. So that's just what I was showing here. This is from the student's viewpoint, because the teacher can obviously see it as well. The student obviously did a fantastic job. It was me. But that's just as far as that assessment tool. And what's nice about that, again, it's something that could be assigned for homework. It's something that could be done in class. There's lots of different pieces of it. Something specific to science that's embedded within the tech book is the science tech book has a specific tab called STEM, right? And I know there may be an art teacher or two in the room. It's tech book. There's still STEAM. We're not going away from STEAM. But this is specific to the science tech book as far as STEM, and the idea is that it gives different interactive opportunities and lesson strategies that take the concept that's embedded within that chapter and has the student actually do something with that information. So they're not necessarily laboratory activities, they're discovery-based, inquiry-based, hands-on activities to highlight the particular topic. So this is just a physics one from that STEM. Am I attracted to you? And it goes through step by step. This is what the students would see. It goes through step by step what they're going to do, and they have to design the activity. So it asks them to type in what's their objective, what are the materials that they're going to need to do this, how are they going to do it, what are their when they do it, what are their collective results. All of that they can enter into their interactive platform on TechBook. That gets submitted, and then the teacher can see what they're doing, but the student has that interactive experience as well. And going towards that teacher clarity piece, embedded within this is a rubric that specifically outlines what a quality submission is going to look like. So students have access to that, the teacher has access to that, so it allows everyone to know what should they be doing with regards to this assignment. And the last piece, I promise this is the last one. The last piece is just that this is an incredible resource for our students because they have access to everything. When you buy a biology textbook, it's just a biology textbook. When we get TechBook, whether it's science or math, they actually have access to every single level of science that goes in with TechBook, from kindergarten all the way through what would be quote unquote 12th grade science, which is physics. So it doesn't matter if a student is in 9th grade, they have access to those physics resources. They can see that. So if there's something that they're interested in, even though they may be in a particular subject at the time, they still have access to that. The nice thing about having access to prior year material is it gives students access to concepts that may be differentiated, that may be at the same concept, but at a level that may be easier for them to understand. It also gives them the opportunity to explore and discover things that are of interest to themselves because they have access to all these different resources. So they can just click on fun videos, because that's what they do. They just watch YouTube all the time. This is a way to use that skill of watching in a productive, learning, meaningful way. They can just find silly videos that are all embedded within Discovery TechBook, like Outrageous Acts of Science. These are all videos that they could be interested in discovering. Maybe they don't even know what they want to do. I just typed in football. I wasn't thinking of anything with science. I just typed in football, and all of these videos showed up, all related to science, technology, engineering, and math with regards to football. And I just took one quick little video and I snipped it down, a robotic football player, and it sounds like, oh, a robotic football player. But obviously it's blocked because that's how technology works. But it was just a simple, short 30-second video of these engineering students who just decided to make a remote-controlled pad blocker that was weighted appropriately, because all the research shows that concussions actually aren't the result of game day, they're the result of constant banging during practice. So they came up with this idea. All they did was take a pad, attach it to a remote control, and now it's paid for by colleges all over the country. So they took something that was of interest to them and then moved forward with it. So those types of videos can be inspirational for our students that may be interested in science, technology, engineering, or just may have something that they're interested in beyond what they're learning in the classroom, and now they have access to all of those video resources. So where are we now? Where do we go? And what are we going to go forward with? I'm going to let Mr. Schaefer tie things up for us.
So where are we going from here? Our next steps, or some of our next steps, and there's still so much within the platform we are still unpacking, but our chairs, as they so eloquently explained, are continually working with their departments to share best practices at their regular PLCs, which teachers are actually sharing what it is that they are doing that's worked, and hoping that the strategies that they try grow within the departments. We do have continual professional development of teachers. The Discovery Education Training will be back in February, and we have a full day of PD with each department, and they're going to focus on the planning, unpacking everything that there is to offer, and planning units from start to finish, and really focusing on how students can use the platform a little bit more independently in terms of study skills, research skills, and presentation features. There's a whole slew of presentation features within the platform where students can create what they, under the Board Builder tab, their own presentations that are interactive, that integrate all the features of the textbook, and it allows them to become it allows them to shift towards the teacher and facilitator, and allow them to learn through almost teaching. So there's so much in this platform, and not hopefully, as we move throughout the year and next year, this will really shift to become the primary resource in our classes, and we are expecting to see the results and the higher levels of engagement, and seeing that translate into improved outcomes for our students. So we're going to finish with just a short student interview, because the elementary schools always have videos, so we have that one too. Oh, it's there. Oops. Here we go.
Hey guys, we're here with 3 7th graders, Alan, JP, and Kevin. I'm just going to ask them a couple of questions about their experience with Discovery Ed textbooks in the class. So one thing I want to ask you about, how is the lesson different when the teacher uses Discovery Ed textbook versus when the teacher is not using it?
Well, with Discovery Ed gives you a full explanation of the whole subject or topic, while a teacher might forget something maybe sometimes.
Very good, very good. Anybody else?
Discovery Ed, it's like a bunch of different slides, and at first it'll explain how to do something, and then it'll make you do it on other slides.
So it sort of leads you through the process of how
It
it's
helps you step by step.
Cool. You guys did a lesson recently about proportions. Did Discovery Ed give you a historical background? Can you talk about that?
Yes, it talks about Leonardo da Vinci trying to make the perfect proportional shape, and also to display what we were doing in the
Right, very good, very good. And you guys talked about it helping you organize your work?
Yes, there was a chart that was on it was at the bottom of the passage or whatever, and it helped us organize all of the measurements that we took.
Great. And that was a very active lesson. Did you guys find yourselves having a lot of conversation with each other about math in particular?
I'd say so, yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other final thoughts? Very good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Right to Fortnite, look at that. So that concludes our presentation. There is much more to come, and we're expecting to see it grow exponentially as the months go on. Questions? Yes.
As a former long-time Board of Education member, I wondered about the fiscal implications of this shift over. Because it seemed to me there was often a pullback on changes in curriculum based on textbooks and the limitation on how much you could do in any given year. It wasn't based on the need, it was based on often the amount of dollars you could put into the thing for new textbooks, say, to put into a new curriculum. What are the long-term fiscal implications of this change? It seems like you mentioned one earlier where there was, at least if there's a new edition or something, you have to buy a new textbook. It's already built into the cost of the program. What are the long-term fiscal implications for this? It sounds like there ought to be good implications. Could you comment on that?
It is. It really is a fraction of the cost. So a textbook for any of these subjects could cost $100 to $120, and it probably would be, the textbook probably would be good for 5 years or so, maybe. Between the wear and tear on the textbook and the changing standards, this we're talking $10 maybe. So it's probably a tenth of the cost.
Does everybody have that laptop?
They can use their phone. They can use their phone. If they're at home trying to access it, they can use their phone. Almost everything works on the phone. We have a one-to-one device initiative in the school, so for the most part in school it's not an issue. And any students who have issues with access at home, the majority of the materials can be printed. So they can either print it in the library, or the teacher can print it for them, or they can stay after school in the library Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and take care of what they need to do from the digital end.
How many students do you think that would be? How many students do you know, what are you talking about in volume?
Across the school, we're probably talking a small minority.
About 10%?
Probably less. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? I think one thing to remember, I mean, thank you. You really did an outstanding job. Thank you, Mrs. Hecht, and the high school team really brought this to life, I think, for everyone here to see all the benefits and value that this new textbook has for us. But most importantly, and we tend to sometimes overlook this, the value for our students, because they are presented with a consistent platform. And each year when they go across subjects, they're very familiar with how to use this textbook, how to submit their assignments on the platform, how to access the information, and it's familiar to them. So that learning curve at the beginning of the year isn't there. They can hit the ground running in every subject. It looks very similar to them. And of course, the content is different, but the use of it, the user experience for our students is the same and familiar. And that saves a lot of time for our kids so they can get right down to learning. Because each year when the kid goes into a new subject or a new way of teacher presenting information, that's a learning curve for kids, and it takes them a couple of weeks to become familiar with how that information is presented. And although there's certainly variety, and there still is variety in how our teachers use it, just the familiarity with that platform is really beneficial for students, much like our Thinking Maps initiative that we have now. That's K-12. All of our kids are familiar with Thinking Maps. They know that language. They go into the classrooms, and all teachers are using that. And that just makes it easier for kids, from their perspective, to learn. So thank you to all of you for being here and for your excellent presentation. And
program, but I wish there was more people showing up that go to this school, because I think a lot of you people are teachers, and it's really sad that this school doesn't have the
parents actually supporting the applications that you're doing?
Well, they get to see it at home, and we're
It should be
live
being-
streaming.
it should be happening.
Thank you, we agree, but it's being live streamed, so we know there's about 150 people watching. And they can see it tomorrow, you can watch it again tomorrow.
I hope I get my comment.
Thank you very much. Probably became.
Okay, I'll sit back now. You gotta have somebody here.
Give them an audience.
Yeah, give them.
I got a question.
Hello, everyone out there. And we're going to continue on now with our agenda. Now we're on number 3. This is a moment for public comments on items that appear on the agenda. Is there anyone who has questions or comments about items on the agenda? And can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 17th, 2019? So moved. So moved by Mr. McNally.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schloth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. We acknowledge the monthly reports and correspondence. We received our financial reports, and we had one correspondence this month. Now I'll turn the microphone over to Mrs. Ruiz for her recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Kamashi. Tonight, I'm recommending that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Teresa LaForgia, substitute teacher, effective December 22nd, 2019. So recommending that the Board approve the appointment of Dr. Aisha MacArthur to the position of Dignity Act Coordinator for the 1920 school year. Also recommending that the Board approve the revised club advisor assignments for the 1920 school year as more fully set forth on the schedule of club advisor assignments and the stipend salaries established by the East Rockaway Teachers Association contract for the 1920 school year. Recommending that the board approve the temporary assignments at the salary approved by the East Rockaway Board of Ed on the non-contractual salary schedule for substitute workers, and that includes Dana Storno, temporary teaching assistant, Melissa Sharameta, substitute typist clerk, effective upon civil service approval, and Lisa Marie Corsica, day evening supervisor, effective January 22nd, 2020.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruiz. Are there any questions from my trustees regarding items 6A through D? Can I have a motion to approve items 6A through D? So moved by Mrs. O'Hagan.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Volpes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved.
Moving on to other items. This evening, we look to approve the following resolution. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District approves the terms of a side letter agreement dated January 21st, 2020 regarding the junior high intramural program coordinator and the teachers bargaining unit. B, to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the East Rockaway Union Free School District hereby appoints Arthur Regal Esquire to serve as hearing officer with respect to disciplinary charges brought against the employee named in confidential attachment A pursuant to civil service law. And be it further resolved that the employee named in attachment A be suspended without pay for a period of 30 days following service of the disciplinary charges on the employee pending hearing and determination of said charges. C, to approve the following resolution. Now, this is a lengthy resolution. It is a cooperative agreement for special education related services. And what this allows us to do is work with other districts to get more favorable prices on various special education services. D, to approve the contract for consultant services between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and FBA of Syosset, dated January 21st, 2020, for services on behalf of the district's flexible spending plan. E, to approve the contract for consultant services between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and Electrify Your Strings Incorporated for an orchestral student workshop on March 2nd, 2020. F, to approve the agreement between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and Heartland School Solutions, dated January 21st, 2020, for use of the Mosaic point of sale system for the 2019-2020 school year. G, to approve the agreement between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and school aid specialists for state aid reporting for the 2019-2020 school year. H, to approve the terms of the letter of intent dated December 13th, 2019 with Nassau BOCES for a 48-month lease for 5 Xerox multitask copy machines. I, to approve the terms of the consultant services contract between the East Rockaway Union Free School District and Carol Nibbins, RN. J, to approve the memorandum of agreement with the Nassau County Board of Elections for use of the optical scan voting systems on May 19th, 2020. And finally, K, to approve the revised 2019-2020 board meeting schedule. The March 17th meeting has been changed to March 24th. Are there any questions regarding items 7A through K? Can I have a motion to approve items 7A through K?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Schloth. Seconded by Mr. McNally. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. Can I have a motion to, or are there any questions about the CSE or CPSE recommendations for this month? Can I have a motion to approve the CSE and CPSE recommendations? So moved by Mrs. O'Hagan. And a second? Seconded by Mr. McNally. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. We have 2 budget transfers this month. Can I have a motion to approve the budget transfers listed below, transactions number 20-0010 and transaction number 20-0011?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Volkes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schloth. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. We have a number of policies up for adoption this month, and Mr. McNally will provide us with a summary of some of those policies.
The policy subcommittee met on Tuesday, January 14th, and we reviewed 6 policies. The first policy was grading systems. This policy was recommended for review by NISBA. Changes reflect audit reports and recommendations of the Office of the State Controller, which indicated some grading systems may have weaknesses which jeopardize the integrity of students' grades and increase the risk grades can be inappropriately modified. This policy was worked on in June 2019, and the new policy subcommittee reviewed and approved the revisions. The second policy was promotion and retention of students. This policy was recommended for review by NISBA to incorporate a new law which requires districts to notify parents of its policy on promotion including how the policy was developed. This can be accomplished by posting the policy on its website and/or distributing it as part of an existing information document that is provided to parents or guardians. The third policy was budget transfers. This policy was reviewed and it was determined no changes were needed. The fourth policy was purchasing. This policy was revised to reference purchasing Exhibit 6700-E in the body of the policy. This exhibit outlines the methods of competition to be used for procurements. The fifth policy was contracting for professional services. This policy was updated to revise the request for proposal requirement from every 3 years to every 5 years. In addition, the policy was revised to extend authorization to the superintendent's designee to review and make recommendations for proposal awards to the Board of Education. Number 6 was the use of district credit cards. This policy was revised to update the district title to Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. In addition, the chart was updated to exclude the reference to credit cards the district no longer uses and include the appropriate titles of those authorized to use specific district credit cards. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Are there any questions for my trustees regarding any of those policies up for adoption? Okay, I also want to thank Ms. O'Hagan and Mr. Ruiz for working on those policies and providing that update. Can I have a vote to adopt those policies as listed? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so those policies are adopted. You'll see on number C, up for review, we still have 6 policies as listed below that are currently being reviewed. You can find all of our policies on our website as well. And if you have any questions or comments and concerns, please let us know. Now moving on to number 11. My president's report on our last work session. The district website has been updated as part of an ongoing effort to improve and maintain good communication. The location of some information may have changed, and there may be some issues as all documents are still being migrated over to the new design. If you have any difficulty finding information you need, please don't hesitate to contact your child's school. We're excited about the new design, and we think it looks wonderful. The junior senior high school course and program changes were shared with us at the work session by Mr. Schaefer. It offers exciting new courses and some name changes to existing courses in response to the changing needs of our students. New courses in statistics and pre-calculus will provide students the opportunity to receive college credits through Farmingdale's University in the High School program, as well as the new Syracuse University Project Advance or SUPA course, the development of children. A new Geometry Foundations course will increase the opportunity for more students to graduate with an Advanced Regents diploma by providing additional instruction geared towards successfully passing the Geometry Regents test. New electives in culinary arts and nutrition and multimedia technology will also expand offerings to our students beyond the core subject areas that are also in line with potential future career interests. These changes were shared at the recent curriculum fair night as well, and they are available on the website, and please contact your child's counselor with any questions related to your child's future course plans. Ms. Frio provided an overview of the budget process for this year, including a review of last year's significant capital and technology projects during our first budget presentation. She shared some initial figures important for the development of the annual budget, including the CPI, which will be 1.81%. She explained the 5 factors relating to the tax levy cap calculation. We currently know 3 out of the 5 factors and still wait to hear regarding the pilot and building aid amounts. She also reported good news of our bond rating, which was upgraded, and our next budget work session is scheduled for February 4th, where she will report on the governor's proposal, capital projects, and technology reserve propositions. We also talked a little bit about our athletic teams. Program offerings are reviewed as part of each budget season, including our athletic program. A few years ago, we joined with Rockwell Center to provide wrestling for our students. The number of participants has declined, so we'll be closely monitoring the feasibility of continuing that program, along with the possibility of expanding into other sports, especially during our winter season. Some possibilities include swimming, bowling, and golf. Challenges we face include finding neighboring districts to partner with, as due to our size, we typically don't have enough students to put together full teams of our own, as well as transportation. The high cost of busing is something we continuously look at as well as part of our overall budget. And that concludes my president's report. Mrs. Reeves?
Thank you, Mr. Gamache. So just kind of as a follow-up to our Discovery Tech books, our reading committee has been hard at work this year looking to select a new reading program for our elementary K through 6 grades. The committee has met several times to learn about different programs in order to select one for the 2021 school year. Once a decision has been made, professional development opportunities will begin this spring to better prepare teachers for smooth implementation for next school year. And I do want to once again just thank and give a shout out to our elementary teachers who've been working so hard to adopt the new programs that we have brought in that will really help to provide more engaging learning opportunities for our students, as well as better outcomes. So again, this will happen next year. And thank you to the committee and to Ms. Heck for her hard work in selecting the best program. 61 students were recognized at the January PTA meeting for Achieving Student of the Month in 2 or more subject areas during the months of October and November. In addition, 60 students were invited to receive We Rock Awards. Awards recognize students for various character traits, including wisdom, empathy, respect, optimism, compassion, and kindness. And that stands for We Rock. The anatomy and physiology class at East Rockaway High School had a first-hand experience dissecting pig hearts, led by Mr. Louis Duet. The purpose of the activity was to visualize the common cardiac anatomy shared between mammals, or among mammals. Art student Kat Melisinos had her photograph Morning Sunshine accepted into the Drexel University High School photo contest. And congratulations to her. In the area of innovation, STEAM classes are completing their robotic unit at Center Avenue. Students collaborated in teams to build Lego robots and then program them to complete specific tasks, such as travel towards a disco ball and then turn in one direction and then in the opposite direction. STEAM will move to RAIM in the coming weeks. As part of the science department's regular professional learning community, PLC's physics teacher, Brian Palermo, led the science teachers through a breakout EDU portable escape room experience. The experience is an engaging way to teach a variety of concepts. The use of Instagram is growing at the junior-senior high school. Teachers across departments are using Instagram to showcase the engaging activities that are going on in their classrooms. And this includes our family and consumer science teacher, Ms. Pisano, our high school art teachers, high school music department, Mr. Crowley, science teacher, and Ms. Kenny, social studies teacher. You have to see Mr. Crowley's Instagram post. I won't give it away. It's great and very engaging. Students in Ms. Falvo's AP language class used Flipgrid to create videos in which they demonstrated tone. Students were able to view each other's videos, evaluate their effectiveness, and provide feedback to each other. As you can see, we've really increased the use of technology and the use of the devices across all areas. And I, again, thank our teachers as well as our administrators for supporting those innovations. In the area of opportunity, students in both elementary schools and our high school have been working hard to prepare for the upcoming musical, The Wizard of Oz. They're all excited for the opportunity to perform at the end of the month, and I hope you purchase tickets. I don't think anybody's selling them tonight, but you can contact Mrs. Morano or Mr. Seglio. And again, that's on Friday, February 2nd, and Friday, 31st and 1st, okay. Right, January 31st and February 1st. There's a Friday night, Saturday matinee, and Saturday night performance. Regents Review Academies and Algebra, Geometry, Algebra 2, ELA Living Environment,
Global and U.S. history have been offered to all students identified as in need to take a January Regents exam, whether to fulfill graduation requirement or return a track for an advanced Regents diploma, and those assessments are taking place this week. All students in high school Italian and many of other high school English language learners had the opportunity to see a full dress rehearsal of La Traviata at the Met. An amazing experience. Thank you to our teachers for arranging for that. On January 15th, the high school hosted its annual curriculum fair where families had an opportunity to learn about all of the course options available to students and meet with teachers and students in those classes and extracurricular activities. As Mr. Gamache already outlined, we really have an interesting array of opportunities planned for next year, including expanded family and consumer science offerings and 2 new concurrent enrollment classes for college credit. On December 20th, AP Art took field trip to New York City to the Zero Space Interactive exhibit. Students had a unique experience being able to spend the day within the artwork, and I would recommend, if that's still available, that you take a visit. Students in Human Development class took a trip to the Long Island Children's Museum on Friday. Students were given a tour of the museum with a specific focus on how the psychological, physical, and social and emotional development of children was taken into account when the museum was curated. In the area of connection, students from Kiwanis Kids Club and Student Council from both elementary schools visited Nassau University Medical Center in late December. Club advisors and students brought gifts for children and sang carols for the patients in the hospital. They visited the pediatric and geriatric rehabilitation floors. Students commented how good it felt to bring some cheer to patients during the holiday. Our wrestling team participated in the Takedown Drugs match presented by the Friends of Long Island Wrestling. All athletes and coaches signed a pledge to be drug-free. Our winter athletic teams participated in the Greg's Wings Foundation Toy Drive, in which each player on our winter teams donated a toy for children at NYU Winthrop's Cancer Center for Children. December 21st, we hosted our annual basketball friendship games with Lynbrook High School. The game was done in conjunction with Greg's Wings Toy Drive and included donations from Lynbrook High School teams as well. On December 27th, members of the East Rockaway Senior National Honor Society volunteered their talented time at the 42nd Annual Holiday Party for Children in Foster Care. This event, sponsored by Nassau County Department of Social Services, took place at the Long Island Marriott Hotel and Conference Center. Students ran a craft table for the children and represented East Rockaway proudly. The Mora Breast Cancer Foundation came in to speak with our high school health classes about the importance of early detection and provide them with techniques to check for breast cancer for both men and women. I'm missing one. I'd just like to mention tonight, the board approved the contract for Electrify Your Strings, and that is a program that's being provided to our orchestra students in the high school and junior high school, and also, I believe, our elementary string students will participate. If you're familiar with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I believe the person who runs that is one of the founders of that, and our string teacher is orchestra teachers are bringing that program in thanks to a grant they received from the Education Foundation. So that's just one of many grants that the Ed Foundation provides for our teachers who think up some very different and creative ways to bring engaging programs for our students. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for our string students. So thank you to the Ed Foundation for their continued support. I'd also like to thank Mr. McNally and Ms. O'Hagan for their easy transition and excellent work they have done on our policy subcommittee. It's not easy to get into that policy work. It's not the most exciting work, but you've really done a great job so far, and we've plowed through those policies. So thank you for your efforts. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruiz. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that this isn't the only public meeting we have every month. Our work sessions are public, and while I enjoy sharing my president's report to keep you up to date with the things that we do discuss there, They really are rich and lively discussions. I merely provide summaries, so please feel free to join us on those evenings as well. Thank you for being here. Moving on to number 12, good and welfare. We would like to extend our condolences to Sarah Perone and family on the passing of her grandmother, Barbara Wines, on December 26, 2019. Also, our condolences to Mr. Schaefer and family on the passing of his grandfather, Anthony Volpe, on December 26, 2019. Condolences to Antoinette English and family on the passing of her father, Giovanni LaSala, on January 6, 2020. Condolences to Angela Bond and family on the passing of her mother, Mary Wicks, on January 13, 2020. And our condolences to Jean Page and family on the passing of her grandmother, Ann Carroll. Now we move on to our period of public comment. Please note that anyone wishing to speak at this time should fill out a card and comply with all provisions of board policy. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and refrain from addressing topics related to personnel matters or individual students. Such concerns should be discussed privately with an administrator or the superintendent at an appropriate time. The board is here to listen and cannot provide immediate feedback or engage in open dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided at a later date. Any public comments this month? Okay, so we will move on to our board member comments. Mrs. O'Hagan, would you like to begin?
Good evening. First, congratulations to Gail Myra on achieving National Board Teacher Certification. This is quite an accomplishment. The countless hours you put in, all while being a devoted wife and mother, and a caring, hardworking, dedicated teacher does not go unnoticed. East Rockaway is lucky to have you. Congratulations to Keith on Neuro Board and to all the Andrew Stern essay winners. And thank you, Mr. Schaefer, for your curriculum presentation last week. It is exciting to see our district offering students various pathways to achieve success and to discover their passions. For a small district, this is not always easy. I look forward to seeing what else we are able to offer in the future. Lastly, I would like to wish all who are involved in the production of The Wizard of Oz the best of luck next week. Thank you.
Mr. McNally.
First, I want to thank and congratulate all of the students that wrote essays, especially the 3 winners, but their essays were so good. They were so nice to listen to. And for the Gamache family, it was a really proud night tonight. Not only did Everett win that award, contest, but Keith, a very well-deserving award from BOCES. So it was a nice night for the Gamaches. And a very proud month for the Byra family. Gail, congratulations, very well-deserved. I know how hard you worked for that. And what Kristen said, and you have to put up with Joe all the time and do all that work. And for Joe, Gail's husband, Joe, is the Lynbrook girls cross-country coach, and he just recently got Nassau County Coach of the Year for leading the girls to an undefeated season and a county title. So it was a very proud month for the Byras, which is great. And the curriculum presentation tonight, it was very nice to see all of that wonderful stuff.
Mr. Walters, I'm mixing it up.
Hi. Ditto what my fellow board members said, and particularly on Gail Byra. Gail, it's tough having a dad like you have, setting that bar not only high, but way above high. And I can see why that award did come to you, and you're working so hard for that. I want to thank you for all your contributions that you make into the district, especially in your new position. Thank you.
Mr. Sloan.
So I join with my colleagues in all of the things they said, but I'd also like to comment about Gail Byra. One of the things I've come to admire among teachers is when somebody reaches out and does something above and beyond their normal training. To me, that's what a dedicated teacher is all about. And I must thank you for doing that. It's really an extraordinary achievement, given all you do besides that around here and in your family. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for maybe setting the bar for the rest of our teachers. I did want to thank our president, Keith Gamache. I've had the privilege of being at a lot of the functions that we've been at together, and Keith often speaks up on very complicated matters and really deserves the award he got based on the fact that he is very involved and he makes very intelligent conversation at a lot of the meetings we go to and has made a tangible difference in the way things are done. So congratulations to Keith. And one last thing I wanted to bring up was we did have a safety committee meeting recently. I was in attendance. Several other people were there. We had some new stakeholders show up, including our fire chief and Alturas security personnel. We discussed some new initiatives that we're going to pursue, and I wanted everybody to know. I'm going to keep you updated on them as we have future meetings. Thank you for everybody being here tonight, and have a good week.
Thank you, Mr. Schlow. I want to thank you for the thank yous, but before that, I do want to, from a teacher to another teacher, congratulations, Gail. That's a tremendous achievement, and I applaud you. The acknowledgement from BOCES is very special to me on a number of levels. One is there are two people who have ties to this community, Dr. Johnson, who's my superintendent, and Dr. Burris, who was my former principal and was a resident. They both inspired me to run for the school board at a time when education was really at a crossroads, and that's why I chose to get involved in the way that I did. They also have a commitment to equity and excellence, which is something that's informed my thought process as I've sat on the board. And the reality is I can't be successful as a board member without the support and hard work of my trustees, our superintendent, and all of the administrators, all of our teachers, teaching assistants, aides, clerical staff, custodians, and security who work with our children on a daily basis. So thank you for all of your support, and I really appreciate it. At this moment, I ask that we move to adjourn this meeting at 8:40 or 8:40 and move into executive session to discuss the superintendent's mid-year evaluation. So moved by Mrs. Octera.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schlow. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you next month.